What's going on, guys? Bart here with Tully Television. Today, we're going to be getting into yet another comic book review, but I want to thank all you guys for stopping by, liking, commenting, sharing, all that beautiful YouTube stuff. Help this small-time creator get back into the algorithm. Continue to stay in the algorithm. The algorithm rules. But today we're going to be getting into Uncanny X-Men issue 13. And I love this cover right here. These covers by, what is it? Lucien Vicio? They've been great. We've had a couple of these covers by the same artist throughout this first 13 issues, so to speak. This is going to be starting a new storyline in this particular title. It's going to be called the Dark Artery story. This first chapter is called Machinations of Dread. Of course, written by Gail Simone, David Marquez as the artist, Matthew Wilson as the colorist, Luciano Ficcio as the cover artist to here. And we get a cameo at the end of this issue. We get a new character introduction of Henrietta, Lady Henrietta. But that particular character is seen in flashbacks from back in the Jim Crow era of America. Now that was sometime after slavery had ended and was abolished. But the Jim Crow era of time for some citizens of color, all citizens of color, was like the segregation of water fountains, of bathrooms, of eating facilities. God forbid that you should be a man of color and find a white woman attractive. That would be big time. Even though America had made it to where we couldn't own people anymore, right? There's still that group of people that found black people to be inferior to the white person. Now, obviously, we know that's not true. No one is inferior to anyone else because of their skin color. It's all about the content of the character of the person. Every race has their malcontents, if you will. You know what I mean? But I want to get into, to show you her here. And my only complaint so far is, and maybe it's my old man eyes, her narrative is through like a diary or journal that she's writing, and her mission seems to be currently at the moment is to bring her mother's remains to Haven, Louisiana. Oddly enough, that's where our band of X-Men in Louisiana are residing. Haven, Louisiana. Wow, I wonder if there's connection, guys. And of course, we even have the train conductor, the train guy here explain, like, watch where you're going, because she's going from Chicago to down south. And we know that down south was really where a lot of, and I'm not saying it wasn't happening in the north, but in the south, back at this Jim Crow type of era, it was rough. It was rough for some people, I'll tell you that. Then we go to current day, where Rogue and Gambit are sleeping. Of course, Rogue takes all the blankets like every other girlfriend slash wife does. And so as Gambit's getting up to get his own blanket, of his own blankets, so to speak, we get dun dun dun. You remember this guy? That's right. Sadarong. He had one of the eyes of Agamotto. Remy made an agreement to hold on to it for a year so he can use it. But Sadarang here is looking to get it back early. And what he winds up doing is he winds up bringing Remy to the Savage Land. Okay. And we'll get into that reason why. Then we get back. Then we connect to what the Outliers are doing. Deathstream seems to be hearing a calling, so to speak, and he wants the rest of his, little outlier friends to come with him. They got to get on this boat here. Deathstream, I like a lot, and he seems possibly like he's going to maybe be a bigger part of this particular story because of his communication skills with the dead. And it seems like these voices are calling him to this area. And this is where we find out that this, the dark artery type of situation here, this is probably going to be where the connection, in my opinion, from Henrietta and our cast of teammates now are going to, that this is going to be the reason why those two stories come together. And we see that Gambit was brought to the Savage Land. He has to wind up fighting a dinosaur, and that's crazy. Here we see again Henrietta traversing through America to get to her final destination. Now, throughout her destination, we even see her making this marking herself as she leaves, an XO mark, meaning that whenever someone is familiar with that symbol, with that marking, that's a path for a safe pathway. You know what I mean? That you're on a safe passage, so to speak. Here we finally get to this dark artery place, and Ransom seems to acknowledge that Jitter and Calico here may have a little attraction to each other. You know what I mean? And so here we find out that what's calling to Deathstream is basically a graveyard. I'm going to call it basically the equivalent of a mausoleum because it's inside this obsidian. That we know that that a structure is black obsidian because Calico recognizes the stone and says it shouldn't be anywhere near here in Louisiana in the swamp. So somehow this black obsidian was constructed and is housing basically dead people. Okay. Here, Remy fights a dinosaur. He's doing his best Spider-Man impression and winds up having to take the dinosaur out even though he didn't want to, and winds up killing the dinosaur, unfortunately. And Gambit's kind of like, what the hell? We see Sadarong eating here. He said that he's going to eat the left eye because that's where the power is at. And then he begins to explain to Gambit that he should give up the Eye of Agamotto, or at least his half of the Eye of Agamotto, because if he continues to keep it, he's going to wind up having a hunger, and that hunger is going to eventually not be able to be quenched, and that hunger is supposedly going to lead to, I don't know if there's another way to say this for YouTube, but he's going to wind up becoming a cannibal because of holding the Eye of Agamotto for an extended amount of time. And so, are you sure you don't want to contemplate giving me the eye back? Now, Sadarong could be lying to Remy to just get it back because he was mad at the fact that his teammates, Rogue and Wolverine, blinded him at the time when Remy first got the Eye of Agamotto, which is a reasonable thing to be upset about. However, again, we don't really know if this is the truth or not, but I'm sure there's some sort of um, truth to it, but only time will tell. Will Gambit give back the eye? Will Gambit be willing to sacrifice his humanity to make sure that no one else has the eye of Agamotto? That could be a possibility that Gambit's willing to do, is still keep it for himself, so no one else can have it. You know what I mean? And not have it be used for nefarious purposes. But again, this is only the first chapter of this story, so we'll see where this leads in the next few issues, because that will be the last interaction between Gambit and our not so friendly dragon until the next issue, I'm assuming, right? And we see what Gambit decides. Here we see Henrietta again showing up to Louisiana, and we have a guy here saying he's part of the service, so to speak, some sort of law enforcement and everything, and he kind of dumps all her junk out, and then of course that's the symbol I'm talking about. So she knows that she's on the right path. She happens to have a journal that is referenced by this lawman, so to speak, by his associate, right? And he's like, that's unnecessary. She's going to lead us to what we need anyway, okay? So we're just going to keep an eye on her. And that's kind of where we left them. We do see that she must have some sort of mutant power, mutate power, or something like that, and we'll find out more and more, I guess, in the upcoming issues again. What is her powers? What is she capable of? And what is it that she's going to do once she finally brings her mother's ashes back to Haven? Because I forgot to mention that when the kids are going to that black obsidian structure, that mausoleum, so to speak, the head of the Haven House and his wife know about that. So the family is in on knowing that that structure is there. And the wife asks, should we stop them? And he says, they're going to find out on their own anyway. These kids are pretty smart, so let them figure this out. My opinion is that the current owners of the Haven House are descendants of Henrietta. I think that's where the connection is. I believe that there's some sort of power there that is being contained and watched over by her descendants. And what that means or entails, we'll find out why that is a special place of reverence and of power. We'll find that out in the next few issues. And finally, as we wrap up the issue, we see our Outliers here. Calico is getting a panic attack because it's starting to get a little too real for her there. And because Deathstream keeps just saying, do not fear, please don't have any fear. And Ransom finally asks Ransom, he's asking Deathstream there, why do you keep saying that? Why do you keep saying don't be afraid? It's almost like you're making us more afraid, bro. Like, it's almost like you're gearing us to be aware of something. And there is, because he says, if you have any fear, any touch by the man-thing will burn you. And that's the cameo. So, and that's where the issue wraps up. Man-thing. The protector of the nexus of all pathways, so to speak. He has immense power. He has basically, if you are fearful and he touches you, it's much like ghostwriter's penance there, where it will drive you insane. It will burn you for real, to that degree. Now, I do like this issue. Like I said, one of the main issues, the one of my gripes is when we're looking at Henrietta narrating through the issue. My eyes are kind of hard to see the way she, the writing, the script, so to speak, because it's so small, and I might need to get some classes, guys. So that's kind of my gripe a little bit. Like, just print it, please. Can you just print it, Gail? Whoever's doing the lettering, please print it. But I think that's a good start to a new story because it asks you questions, it sets you up for other things, and it makes you wonder what's coming up in the upcoming issues. And like, I don't think Gambit's gonna really turn into a cannibal, but I like to see how that gets resolved. We didn't get any Wolverine or Jubilee or Kurt here, but they might show up later on. Let me know what you think of this issue. I think it's a pretty solid issue. It's a solid 7, 8 for me. It's good to see Death Dream kind of being the center of the story a little bit too. I like his character and Ransom. But that's all I got for you today. Let me know your thoughts down below. Don't forget how awesome and amazing you are. And until next time, peace.